Over 120,000 pickup trucks are now sitting unsold across the US. Just a few years ago, these rigs were unstoppable, built tough, selling fast, and dominating the roads. Now, they're stuck on dealer lots, collecting dust for months. They've become the problem no one wants to talk about. Prices are being slashed, incentives are piling up, and still no one's buying. And number 14, Chevrolet Silverado 1500. From American icon to a tough sell, the Chevrolet Silverado 1500 is losing momentum and fast. Once a top choice for full-size truck buyers, it's now struggling to keep pace. In 2023, sales slipped 5.2%, and the first quarter of 2024 saw another drop of 9.3%. Walk onto a Chevy lot today and you'll see it firsthand. Silverados are sitting unsold for an average of 78 days, with some higher-end trims like the High Country gathering dust for 4 months. That's a serious slowdown for a truck that once flew off the lot. What's dragging it down? The interior is a big issue. While Ford and Ram have stepped up with premium materials and smarter layouts, the Silverado still leans on hard plastics and a dated design. And then there's the pricing. Fully loaded trims now push into the $70,000 to $80,000 range, which has more buyers scratching their heads. To move units, Chevy's offering big discounts, up to $4,500 in cash rebates, plus special financing offers. But even that's not sparking the demand it used to. The Silverado still hauls tows and brings solid performance. But in today's market, that alone isn't enough. Buyers expect more refinement, better value, and a truck that doesn't feel stuck in the past. This next truck, it's stuck in a different decade. At number 13, Ram 1500 Classic. It was once the budget hero. Now it's just stuck in 2009. The Ram 1500 Classic is kind of like your favorite old flip phone. Reliable in its day, but seriously outdated now. Originally launched in 2019 as a budget-friendly alternative, when the new gen Ram 1500 came out, it kept selling for a while. But in 2024, it's not just behind the curve, it's completely off track. Sales have tanked down a jaw-dropping 52% year over year. That's not a slip, that's a nosedive. And the situation on dealership lots is even more brutal. Some 2023 models have been sitting unsold for over 200 days. That's more than 6 months just collecting dust, racking up floor plan interest, and eating into profits. So what's the issue? Let's start with the tech or lack thereof. The interior design hasn't seen a major update since 2009. Step inside and it feels like you just time traveled. There's no lane keep assist, no adaptive cruise control, and forget about any fancy digital cockpit. Even basic features we expect in compact sedans are just missing. And in a market where buyers want value and modern convenience, that's a deal breaker. Ram knows this, which is why they're slashing prices like it's Black Friday. Many dealers are offering $10,000 off just to get these trucks off the lot. That kind of discount might sound like a dream, until you realize you're still buying a truck that feels like it belongs in a museum exhibit labeled the early 2010s. So while it might still appeal to the occasional fleet buyer or someone looking for a basic work truck, the broader market has moved on. At number 12, Toyota Tacoma. The king of mid-sized trucks suddenly dethroned. For years, the Toyota Tacoma was untouchable, rugged, reliable, and virtually guaranteed to sell the moment it hit the lot. It didn't need updates, it didn't need incentives, it was the golden child of mid-sized pickups. But the arrival of the 2024 redesign changed everything. The old 2023 model didn't just slow down, it hit a wall. As buyers caught wind of the all-new Tacoma on the horizon, sales of the outgoing model plummeted by nearly 42%. And while Toyota's trucks usually vanish off lots in under 20 days, the 23 Tacoma is now sitting for 75 plus days. That's unheard of for a brand built on bulletproof reputation. So what happened? Well, the truth is, time finally caught up. The interior, cramped and dated. The engine, underwhelming at best. The fuel economy, let's just say rough around the edges. The new 2024 model fixed nearly every issue fans had complained about for years. Bigger screen, better powertrain, roomier cabin, all the stuff that makes the old one suddenly feel obsolete. Buyers aren't dumb. Why settle for yesterday's truck at today's price? To make matters worse, Toyota initially refused to discount the 2023 models, holding out like they were still in 2019. But reality set in, and now we're seeing $3,500 cash offers and special financing deals popping up, a rare move from a brand that typically doesn't need to play the discount game. In the end, the 2023 Tacoma wasn't a bad truck. It just became irrelevant almost overnight, a victim of its own successor. At number 11, GMC Hummer EV. The electric monster nobody asked for and even fewer can park. When GMC brought back the Hummer name as an all-electric 1,000 horsepower beast, it made headlines everywhere. Crab walking? Check. Removable roof panels? Of course. 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds? Sure, why not? On paper it sounded like the truck of the future, but in reality, it's turning into a very expensive garage ornament. Since its flashy launch, fewer than 4,000 Hummer EVs have found owners. That's not a typo, and dealerships are starting to sweat. Some Hummers have been sitting on lots for over 240 days, collecting dust, depreciation, and awkward glances. Let's talk numbers. Base price? $110,295. Even the cheaper trim hovers near $96,000. And the weight? Try over 9,000 pounds. That's heavier than some Elevants. Literally. You can't fit it in most garages. You can't afford to charge it too often. And if you try to take it off-road, you better hope the terrain was engineered for a small tank. It's less of a pickup and more of a rolling flex for people who already own a Cybertruck, a yacht, and a parking lot. The real problem? It's not a truck for truck people. It's a six-figure tech toy that forgot trucks are supposed to work, not just wow. With utility bills climbing, loan rates rising, and gas prices bouncing all over the place, buyers are thinking practical. The Hummer EV is anything but. For dealerships, it's like trying to sell a spaceship to someone who just wants a lawnmower. And while GM still tries to pitch it as the future of electric performance, the Hummer EV is quickly becoming a lesson in what happens when you build for headlines instead of households. But that's not even the most shocking part. One of America's best-selling trucks just hit the panic button, and nobody saw it coming. At number 10, the Ford F-150 Lightning. From headline grabber to dealership headache, the Ford F-150 Lightning came in like a thunderstorm, loud, bold, and ready to shake up the truck world. The hype was massive. Over 200,000 reservations, headlines everywhere, and even President Biden took it for a spin. It was supposed to be the future of trucks, but reality? It's been less lightning, more flicker. In 2023, Ford sold just over 20,000 units. Not awful, but nowhere near the numbers they promised. And in Q1 of 2024, the drop continued, down another 20.3%. The excitement didn't just fade, it vanished. Dealers are feeling the pressure. The Lightning now sits on lots for an average of 87 days. That's 3 months of awkward explanations and slashed price tags. And for a vehicle that once had wait lists, that's not just a slump, it's a free fall. Let's talk range. Ford claims up to 320,000 miles, which sounds solid, until you hitch a trailer. Towing can cut that in half, leaving you sweating halfway to the campsite, praying for a charging station. It's a truck that struggles to do truck things. And the price? It drifted far from everyday use. The base Pro model now starts at $54,995. Top trim like the Platinum? Over $90,000. That's luxury SUV territory for a truck still trying to prove itself. Buyers took one look at the rising price tags, range issues, and long-term reliability unknowns, and many quietly backed away. Ford even announced production cuts and delayed its next-gen Lightning plans. Not exactly a vote of confidence. It's not that the Lightning is a bad truck. It's just trying to be everything: a luxury vehicle, a workhorse, and a tech showcase. From a thunderous debut to a silent lot, can the Tundra avoid Lightning's fate? And number 9, Toyota Tundra. The truck that was once unbreakable is now sitting broken-hearted on dealer lots. For years, the Toyota Tundra had a reputation for being rock solid, simple, reliable, and built to last. It wasn't flashy, but it earned fierce loyalty by doing its job without complaint. Then came the big 2022 redesign. Out went the old V8, in came twin-turbo V6s, including a hybrid. On paper, it was progress. In reality, not so smooth. Sales dropped 13.9% in 2023, and unsold 2023 models are now sitting 130 plus days on lots. That's rare for a Toyota, especially a full-size truck. Why the slowdown? For one, the missing V8 stung. Longtime buyers didn't ask for turbos. They wanted classic, dependable grunt. And to make things worse, early reliability issues popped up. Turbo wastegate failures, infotainment bugs, and more. Not great for a truck that used to be a symbol of bulletproof reliability. Prices haven't helped either. Base models start at nearly $40,000, and capstone trims push past $80,000. That's luxury truck money for something that's losing its core audience. The Tundra still looks tough, tows well, and has a decent interior. But right now it feels like a truck stuck between old school loyalty and a modern identity crisis. If Toyota wants the Tundra back on top, it needs more than power. It needs trust. At number 8, Nissan Frontier. A fresh face, but still the same old story. Nissan finally gave the Frontier its first real redesign in nearly 2 decades. Yes, after 17 long years, the 2022 Frontier arrived with a bolder look, a more powerful engine, and upgraded tech. But despite the facelift, buyers still aren't lining up. In 2023, Frontier sales dropped to 57,250 units, a sharp decline of 22.2% from 2022, according to Automotive News. And Q1 2024 wasn't looking promising either, with analysts at Cox Automotive reporting a continued downward trend, even as the mid-size truck market grows more competitive. So what's going wrong? For starters, it's fighting in a weight class dominated by heavy hitters like the Toyota Tacoma, Ford Ranger, and Chevy Colorado, all of which have newer platforms, stronger brand loyalty, and flashier tech offerings. Meanwhile, the Frontier, despite being new, still feels old in many places. The cabin might be better than the ancient outgoing model, but critics say it still feels like a generation behind. The infotainment system is serviceable, but hardly cutting edge, and driver assist features lacking compared to its rivals. Then there's the reputation problem. The Frontier has long been known as the meh truck. Not bad, not great, just there. And in 2025, with prices rising and choices growing, buyers are demanding more than just okay. Nissan priced the Frontier aggressively, starting around $30,000. But with better deals and stronger resale value from competitors, that advantage quickly vanishes. Dealer data shows many models now sit for 90+ days, especially mid-level trims. Some dealers are quietly slashing prices just to make room for more in-demand models. The Frontier had its moment to shine, but instead of a comeback, it's becoming an afterthought. At number 7, the Ford Ranger 2024. All new look, same old struggle. The 2024 Ford Ranger was supposed to mark a strong return for Ford in the mid-size truck game. Bold design, modern tech, and that iconic badge, it had the right ingredients. But just months after launch, the cracks are showing. But only a few months into its release, the red flags are already flying. Ford is already offering 0.9% financing and aggressive lease deals, a tactic usually reserved for older models or underperformers, not something fresh off the production line. And when you zoom out, the bigger picture becomes clearer. The Ranger walks into a crowded ring, facing off against the newly redesigned Toyota Tacoma, the high-tech Chevy Colorado, and even the off-road focused Jeep Gladiator. Each has carved out a niche. The Ranger, it's still figuring out what it wants to be. Critics have been quick to point out that while the Ranger has decent powertrain options, like the 2.3-liter EcoBoost and upcoming Raptor variant, its identity feels muddled. It doesn't quite match the rugged loyalty of the Tacoma or the flashy gadgetry of the Colorado. And while it shares DNA with the global Ranger, American buyers are looking for something that feels a bit more purpose-built for their roads and needs. Then there's the pricing. Starting around $32,565, it's not outrageous, but when shoppers can get better equipment or more well-rounded alternatives at similar price points, the Ranger suddenly feels like a hard sell. If you think new trucks are safe from this sales crash, wait until you see what's happening to America's bestseller. This one hurts. If the Ranger's struggling in its own backyard, imagine what's happening overseas, where even legends aren't safe anymore. At number 6, Toyota Helix. Global. The indestructible legend is finally meeting its match. The Toyota Helix has been called many things over the years. Tough, reliable, unstoppable. In fact, it's the truck of choice for farmers, militaries, and off-roaders across the globe. While not sold in the US, the Helix has held cult-like status across Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia. But now even this global powerhouse is running into trouble. Here's the reality. Emissions regulations and the global shift toward electrification are squeezing the Helix into a shrinking corner. In Europe, tightening Euro 7 standards and increasing taxes on diesel vehicles are cutting into its core customer base. Diesel once gave the Helix its torque-heavy edge, but in 2025, it's starting to feel more like a liability than an asset. In Thailand, one of its biggest markets, Helix sales have dropped nearly 13% year over year, according to an Asian Automotive Federation's report. In Australia, it's still strong in raw numbers but losing ground to EVs like the LDV, E260, and Ford Ranger PHEV, which offers similar utility with greener credentials. The real problem? The Helix hasn't fully evolved. While Toyota has teased hybrid and electric versions, they're still in the pipeline, while competitors are already rolling them out, and in today's fast-moving market, delays come at a steep cost. And to that rising import costs, consumers shift towards compact unibody pickups, the government offering EV tax credits, and the Helix suddenly looks like the old guard fighting a new war. The global icon that once took a sledgehammer and kept driving is now being quietly sidelined, not because it failed, but because the world around it changed. At number 5, Ford F-150, gas and hybrid. The king of trucks might be losing his crown. For decades, the Ford F-150 has been America's best-selling vehicle. Not just truck, but vehicle, period. It's the go-to for contractors, weekend warriors, and loyal Ford fans alike. But in 2025, things aren't looking so bulletproof anymore. Sales are sliding. In 2023, Ford sold 750,789 F-Series trucks, a sharp 14.1% drop from the previous year. And Q1 2024 didn't reverse the trend, it got worse, with another 11.2% decline. That's not a blip, that's a red flag. At the dealership level, trucks are lingering. Ford F-150s now sit at an average of 83 days on the lot, nearly double the historical average. High-end trims like Platinum and Limited, some are gathering dust for 4 months or more. So what's going wrong? One big issue: overcomplication. With 6 different powertrain options, including a hybrid, 3 bed sizes, multiple cab configurations, and over 10 trims, buyers are overwhelmed. You shouldn't need a spreadsheet to pick a pickup. And then there's the price. What was once the workman's go-to has turned into a wallet buster. A base XL now starts at over $36,000, while top-tier trims easily climb past $80,000 after options. That's luxury SUV money for a truck that used to be all about value. Worse, reliability is slipping. Consumer reports have downgraded recent models, and JD Power surveys echo the concern. The very people who depended on their F-150s for rugged durability are starting to feel burned. Ford has responded with increased cash incentives, up to $4,500 plus low-interest financing. But for a brand that once didn't need discounts to move trucks, that's not a good look. At number 4, Honda Ridgeline. A truck that never really convinced anyone it was a truck. The Honda Ridgeline has always been a bit of an oddball. Part SUV, part pickup, and fully confusing for most buyers. And now that identity crisis is finally catching up. Built on a unibody platform shared with the Honda Pilot, the Ridgeline rides smoothly. But that comes at a cost. Traditional truck buyers want grit, towing muscle, and rugged durability. The Ridgeline offers comfort and a trunk under the bed. Sales have never been stellar. But in 2023, Honda moved just 38,221 units, with early 2024 numbers showing more decline. Some dealers report inventory sitting unsold for over 100 days. Its 5,000-pound towing limit, light payload, and limited off-road chops just don't cut in a world of Tacomas, Rangers, and Colorados. And even after a recent facelift, the soft crossover-like styling isn't helping. It's not that the Ridgeline is a bad vehicle, it just doesn't fit. Truck shoppers want capability, and crossover buyers want efficiency or style. The Ridgeline floats in the middle, appealing to a shrinking crowd of people who want a comfy daily driver with a bed. Analysts are calling it what it is, a solid idea with no clear audience. In this market, that's a tough hill to climb. All new look, same old struggle. Chevy's midsizers still can't steal the spotlight. At number 3, Chevrolet Colorado, 2023. Redesigned with muscle, still treated like a middleweight, the 2023 Chevrolet Colorado came out swinging. GM gave it a bold redesign, adding new tech and aimed it straight at the midsize pickup throne. But despite all that effort, it still hasn't shaken off the meh factor in buyers' minds. Let's break it down. Chevy streamlined the Colorado lineup with a single body style, crew cab, short bed, and introduced a fresh new exterior, a much-needed tech upgrade inside, and an all-turbo engine lineup. On paper, it's a smart modern package, but in the real world, it's getting buried. Sales haven't matched expectations. While Chevrolet hasn't publicly broken out exact numbers per trim, dealer inventory data reveals that the 2023 Colorado is sitting for 65 to 90 days on average, with some high-end trims lingering even longer. That's a red flag in a segment where trucks used to fly off lots in weeks. One issue, the price creep. The base trim starts at a respectable $30,000, but once you climb into the Z7-1 or Trail Boss territory, you're quickly north of $45,000. Add a few options and you're toe-to-toe with the full-size Silverado, which offers more capability and name recognition. Another problem, it doesn't bring anything truly unique to the table. The Toyota Tacoma has legendary reliability. The Ford Ranger rides the wave of blue oval loyalty. The Nissan Frontier plays the budget card. The Colorado, it's kind of just there. At number 2, Nissan Titan. The Titan isn't just dying, it's being erased from Nissan's memory. Once hyped as a bold challenger to Ford and Chevy, it was supposed to shake up the truck world with its big V8 and bigger ambitions. But instead of disrupting the game, it quietly drifted into irrelevance. 2023 sales barely cracked 19,000. In Q1 of 2024, still flat. Some trims have sat over 150 days on lots, even with $7,000 to $10,000 slashed off the sticker. For perspective, Ford sells more F-Series trucks in 2 weeks than Titan moves in an entire year. So what went wrong? The Titan never carved out a clear identity. It wasn't the most luxurious, the most capable, or even the best value. It just existed. Sure, the 5.6-liter V8 was solid, but the truck's styling felt dated, and the tech lagged behind competitors. Then came part shortages. Buyers who actually wanted a Titan often couldn't find one configured right, or waited months for basic repairs. Even commercial buyers moved on, choosing models with better resale value and long-term support. Now dealers are desperate to clear them out, with steep discounts and 0% financing. But Titan's fall isn't just a sales failure. It's a cautionary tale of what happens when a truck can't keep up in a fiercely loyal market. At number 1, the Jeep Gladiator. The Gladiator was supposed to be a game changer. Now it's just changing owners, slowly, and at a discount. It looks tough, but buyers just aren't buying it. When Jeep launched the Gladiator, it made waves. It was bold. It was different. A Wrangler with a truck bed? People were intrigued. It had instant street cred, off-road capability, rugged styling, and that signature Jeep attitude. But underneath all that hype, the Gladiator has struggled to live up to expectations. Fast forward and the truth is hard to ignore. Dealers can't move these things. Sales of the Gladiator have been flatlining, with inventory backing up for months at a time. Some dealers report average lot times exceeding 100 days, especially on higher trims like the Rubicon and Mojave. In other words, the Gladiator's stuck in no man's land. Let's talk price. The base sport trim starts just under $40,000, but once you start adding popular options, it's easily crossing into the $50,000 mark, and some configurations stretch past $65,000. That's luxury truck pricing for something that, let's be honest, rides rough, tows modestly, and has questionable daily driver comfort. The truck bed is small, the fuel economy is poor, and the rear seat comfort is tight. Add in the agricultural handling, dated tech, and a solid front axle that turns freeway driving into a wrestling match, and the Gladiator starts to feel more like a novelty than a necessity. Most buyers willing to sacrifice comfort for capability just go straight for the Wrangler, which costs less, handles better off-road, and doesn't try to be something it's not. Jeep has offered hefty cash incentives, including $4,000 plus off on some trims, and special lease deals to clear the backlog. But interest is fading fast. The badge doesn't matter. The price tag doesn't lie. The truck game is changing fast, and if you're not paying attention, you'll overpay for something that'll sit in your driveway just like it did on the lot. So, what do you trust on four wheels right now? Drop a comment down below, and if you thought this was wild, wait till you see the next video.